How's it going, Knicks fans? Welcome back to Fireside Knicks with your boys, Alex and Ryan, talking about Josh Hart helping this team out significantly by accepting the player option at $12.9 million. Now, as we all kind of assumed, Josh would probably decline it because he wanted to cash in on a much bigger contract, but he decided to come together with the Knicks, and he gave them a really nice little bit of time to, one, go out and find another player, rotational piece. He opened up a pretty significant amount of salary space by doing what he just did. That $12.9 million could have easily been $17.5 million. So the Knicks, while they definitely will be extending him and really giving him the, contract and money that he's worth, they'll probably give him a little bit more down the line just to make sure that he gets what he was owed. But with that being said, he did us a favor and he opened up a little bit of cash for us to go out and sign a guy. And apparently there's reports coming out, Ryan, that the Knicks are really considering Donte DiVincenzo. Like, they want Donte. They want to bring him in. And God help me, if they go with a Bruce Brown over Donte DiVincenzo, I'm going to lose my absolute shit. Like, Donte is such a decent player and he's such a good rotational depth piece. And he can also start if you need, similar to Hart, like he could step in and start if you needed him to due to injury or inconsistency, whatever it might be. He can fill a role. And a good one. He's a really good freaking player, a good shooter. He's getting better. He's got chemistry with the Villanova boys. This is exactly what you want. So, Ryan, looking at Josh Hart, seeing what he just did and helping this team out significantly, deciding I'm not going to put them in a bad spot. I'm actually going to go out of my way to take less money this year to make sure that they can get what they need to make this team really competitive. How are you feeling about that? And also the team mentality that's kind of flowing through this organization right now. The players are willing to sacrifice for the betterment of this entire roster.
Yeah, I think that this team, this organization has built together an amazing culture. I think they're prioritizing really what the players value, the guys that the players want to play with. And ultimately, they're doing such an excellent job of developing that culture. Look, Tom Thibodeau has been through a lot of criticism, ups and downs, criticisms from myself, criticisms from other people, but credit has to be given. Tom Thibodeau's built a great locker room and a great culture. Julius Randle, I know, has his moments where his emotions spill out onto the field or to the court, but it's objectively true that the Knicks view him as a positive part of that locker room. I mean, think about this. He's a guy who's had a reputation of, his emotions spill over all the time, this and that. And the players love him. And the coach loves him. The front office loves him. I think that speaks so well to how these guys gel. Quickly, Grimes, Barrett, Brunson, Josh Hart, of course. Just guys like Isaiah Hartenstein, like him taking accountability midway through the season and then immediately becoming a lot better. These are things, the adjustments they make. Derrick Rose, the way, the Knicks were able to handle that situation, and Evan Fournier as well. Both these guys are veterans in the league, and they were able to get both of them to not only come out of the rotation, but number two, when the Knicks needed them to actually play, they were willing to play. I think that speaks a lot about the situation they have from that perspective. But from a pure basketball perspective, I think that the best move for the Knicks are to continue to acquire players that these guys want to play with. And I think Donte DiVincenzo, that's a difference between Bruce Brown and Donte DiVincenzo outside of the price tag. Not only do I think Donte is going to be less expensive, but I think the synergy there is going to just be a lot better. More of a catch and shoot guy, has played with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson in the past, and he's 26 years old. I know Bruce Brown's also 26, but I think it's just that aspect of, having this team really form an identity and have that synergy that's going to be so important, so critical to their success going forward. I think that Josh Hart doing this is something that, can only serve to benefit the relationship he and the Knicks have, can only serve to benefit the relationship Josh Hart has with the fans. And most importantly, you keep Josh Hart. Josh Hart's awesome. Josh Hart's a great player for this team. And that's really the big thing that I want to emphasize too. Like, outside of all of the, off court and locker room stuff here, this guy's really good at basketball. I know the stat sheet isn't amazing for him, but the defensive impact, the rebounding, right, the energy he brings on the court, his ability to just absolutely go off in transition and take advantage. He's quick, he's agile, he's athletic, he's all these things that the Knicks desperately need from the position. He's one of the best trades they've made in a very long time, and I'm very glad to know that Josh Hart is going to at least be here for next year, probably due for an extension to stay for even longer.
Look, Hart's presence on this team cannot be vocalized enough. It cannot be valued enough. He brings energy to this team that it bleeds into everybody else. He makes everybody else better around him. And that's the sign of an impact player. You can do stuff and do it individually, but Josh Hart makes everybody else around him succeed. And I think that's something that Jalen Brunson also does. Having multiple players that elevate everybody is, you need them. That's how you win championships. Like Jokic, he elevated Murray. Like he helped bring that team. Again, he's a freaking superstar to the wildest of means. But having players on this Knicks team, Brunson, he's a great player. He's a tier 2 superstar, I would say. Jokic is like that tier 1 superstar. You look at what Brunson has been able to do. He needs the support, and it's not just the regular season. He needs the support during the playoffs. Julius Randle, can we rely on him as a key postseason piece anymore? I don't necessarily know. I think a lot of people would say no to that, in fact. Because of the ankle injury he sustained, he definitely was a little bit off, but the effort just wasn't there at times. He just was caught ball watching or made bad mistakes, made bad turnovers. Josh Hart's presence, the guy was clutch in the playoffs for us. He came out big against the Heat on multiple occasions. He was tremendous against Cleveland. The guy's a rebounding machine. Offensive rebounds, just they're his. You know what I mean? And he's not the tallest guy on the floor. He just has the most effort. But what he's doing to help this team is, cannot go understated. I think that DiVincenzo, the spacing this team needs, and they need spacing with guys who are going to hit those shots. Obi Toppin, the reason he'll get traded is for 2 things. One, he's a hit or miss guy. Like he's either hitting or he's bricking. And like, that's kind of the problem is like, it's not like the shots are all together always good. And he came up flat a lot of times during the playoffs, and he's just a bad defender, unfortunately. I think that he can be a great player with more experience. The Knicks just don't have him the reps to give because of Julius Randle being that power forward. I just don't think that, Obi Toppin's role on this team is probably a long-term one, just based on the fact that he's blocked from getting starting snaps or starting reps and minutes. So I kind of feel as though right now it's in their best interest to maybe move Toppin. We'll see what happens with RJ Barrett. They do have some assets they can move this offseason, but this team can get better just in free agency. This team can get better just by spending money instead of, bringing in a big contract and giving away some key pieces in the process. I think the Knicks are still going to do that. We saw them linked to James Harden yesterday. Again, I don't think that's a really good fit. I don't think he comes up big and his assist numbers are off the charts. I feel like maybe he would be a decent fit alongside Jalen Brunson, but it would be an interesting combination because like, how do you feed Brunson, Randall, and James Harden? It's like kind of difficult to fathom unless they're moving Julius Randle. I just don't know how it makes the most sense, but we'll see what they do. I still don't think that's the right fit. I think Paul George would be the ideal fit, but again, what is he going to cost? Can he stay healthy? There's a lot of variables there. But Ryan, what is the importance that you place on finding these key rotational pieces? I feel like this past postseason, our starters were solid for the most part, but when the bench pieces came in, things kind of fell apart a little bit, and it forced our stars to play a little bit more than they should have because they were dead. They were exhausted by the time the fourth quarter came around. They were all kind of dealing with their own minor injuries. So how important do you think it is to bring in good rotational pieces that can really help improve this team on the back end?
Yeah, so a couple things that you hit on. Number one, just what Josh Hart brings to this team. The fact that this Knicks team needs spacing, something that Dante DiVincenzo would definitely add to if they were able to acquire him. And then talking a little bit about James Harden, the Knicks do need to get better in terms of playmaking, and that's really the thing that they would like to have with James Harden. But it would still have to be Jalen Brunson's team number one in terms of scoring. I think Jalen Brunson's the more consistent scorer, and the postseason, I'm going to trust Jalen Brunson more to score than I will James Harden. And then number two, you would need to reinforce yourself defensively. Would Julius Randle really work as a third star? Do you have enough touches to really go around to have a quote-unquote third star? I'm not sure. And again, that's a lot of moving parts to accustom for James Harden. And end of the day, I think positionally, you'd rather have Paul George. If you need the playmaking, I think you can make some shuffles to your rotation. And I, of course, think that the Knicks can always I think James Harden would make the Knicks better, but I think because of all you would have to do to accustom that and make that fit really work, I don't know if that's worth it. And I think Paul George is more of a seamless fit. It's really just you pluck out RJ and you put in Paul George. Like it's so simple. That's a really simple fit right there. But with the Clippers being interested in James Harden, like how willing are they to move Paul George? Who knows? This is going to be an interesting offseason. But the alternative options also just adding Dante DiVincenzo and running it back, which really isn't that bad of an idea. The Knicks are a really young team. Dante's 26. Hart is 27. Randall's, I think, 28. Brunson's 26. Barrett's really young. He's 23. Grimes is going to be 23. Mitch Robinson's not old. obviously quickly isn't old either. Same with Hartenstein. Toppin is still technically on the roster. He's not old. And if they trade him, they'll probably trade him for a pick or for a position that they could use help in. Guys like Miles McBride are part of that depth. They're not old. He's obviously not old. He's pretty young as well. So the Knicks definitely do have youth on their side. And if they want to take another year to reevaluate the roster and just make small additions, I think that's the right choice to go to if you're going to choose between that or like James Harden. But end of the day, I think you and I can agree on the front that, number one, Josh Hart adds to the shooting and the defense that they need. Number two, Dante DiVincenzo would be a massive uplift for this team, especially considering they struggled with consistency from three in the postseason. Miami shot under 33% against the Knicks from three, and the Knicks lost that series because the Knicks shot even worse from three. So having that consistency there is definitely going to help. And having year two of Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, all those guys together, I think it can only serve to benefit this team. And you just want you want to make sure that you're making the right choice. Whenever you're trading for a superstar caliber talent, you're not blowing it all up, but you're trading a lot of your future to make sure that happens. So you want to make sure that you're not trading for a player that's going to sink your franchise. You want to make sure you're getting the right guy. And so patience is definitely going to be the next friend here. And Donovan Mitchell is not taking an extension with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it's looking a little muddy over there. So he's going to hit free agency, I think, next year or 2025. Like it's the Knicks are not in a position where they should be forcing anything. So, adding some role players and, running it back is definitely not a bad option. I think you can agree with me there. That's not the worst thing in the world. It's definitely better than blowing it all up for James Harden, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Knicks do with this offseason. Of course, this is the window, guys. Like, this is the window for the Knicks to make a move to contend for a championship and compete. So they're not going to go quietly into the night. They're not going to go silent. And I honestly think they're going to do something big, but it's going to have to be the right move. It can't just be a move to be a move. It's got to be something that makes sense. That's a seamless fit. And Josh Hart, what he's doing with the salary space here is just another, instance where there's acknowledgement that there's something beautiful developing in the Knicks first, guys. Like, what we're watching right now could be something truly special. It could be something truly exciting and something that we remember for a very long time. It's been a long time since the Knicks had an opportunity to take a big step forward like this. So I'd love to hear your perspectives below. If you would rather go for maybe a Bruce Brown or Dante DiVincenzo. A lot of people love Bruce Brown. He's a guy that a lot of people like. He's got that high effort, like a Josh Hart type of effort, but he's not as good of a shooter as DiVincenzo. Obviously doesn't have that chemistry, but he can do a lot for you. There is stuff to like about Bruce. There's a lot to like about DiVincenzo, but the similarities remain. You don't want to overpay either of them because it stops you from making a bigger move. So I'll be curious to see what kind of contracts they do end up landing. And I know Bruce is probably trying to leverage that championship with the Nuggets into a big deal, whereas DiVincenzo, coming off a season, a good one at that. I don't know how much he's going to earn. It might be slightly cheaper, so we'll find out. But guys, always happy to hear perspectives below. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Knicks episode.